In summer 2024, my 5k PB was 21:25. Fast forward a year and a half, and in November 2025, I managed to get 18:34. I'm managing to take roughly 3 minutes off. And in today's video, I'm going to reveal 4 tips that help me do this, but none of them are actually specific workout sessions. The first one, and probably the easiest to implement, is a warm-up. I never used to warm up for PB attempts or just any run, to be fair. I'd swing my legs about for a bit, but nothing really specific. I used to see it as pointless and a waste of energy before the run. I'd be like, why would I waste all my energy running for a little bit before? Then I won't do as well in my 5k time trial. Let me tell you now, that was the wrong way to look at it. It led to not as fast times as I probably could do. I was struggling and on my red line the whole race because I wasn't warmed up, and a few injuries as well as a result. Now, a warm-up can look different for everybody. I normally do a few dynamic stretches at home, and then I go and do at least 2k or a 3k warm-up, usually to the parkrun venue. I'm quite lucky that where I live is quite close to quite a few parkruns. I found that the 3k mark is usually the sweet spot for me because it gives me enough time to feel out any injuries and see how my body's actually feeling before this session. Because sometimes I might do a warm-up and be like, no, it doesn't feel right today. We'll switch the session, we'll go a bit lighter. And then depending how we feel in the run, we can push it if we want to. Finding out 3k into a 5k time trial that your stomach doesn't feel great or your body's not in the mood isn't usually the best way. So utilising a warm-up really does help. Now, I'm not going to get into the science of all of it, but from my understanding, it elevates your heart rate, so it will be easier to kick into those faster speeds where you're at a higher heart rate during the run. That might be completely wrong. And now I also throw in some strides at the end of a warm-up as well. I said there were no specific sessions, and then I've probably just waffled on. Can you count a warm-up as a session? No, you can't. Adding structure to my running week has been transformative in helping me get these 5k PBs. Now, this doesn't mean you need a whole training plan and downloading Runner and getting a stress fracture from that, apparently, because that's the only cause of stress fractures. It just means that for me, I set out at the start of the week how many runs I'm going to do, what sort of distance I'm doing, and it might only be 2 or 3 runs. That's how I started in building back up to get the 5k PB. I was just trying to get fit, so I just ran 3 times. This blind isn't doing a great job at protecting me, is it? Oh, I really can't be asked to get up, so we're going to leave it. And to be honest, I didn't actually do a lot of 5k specific work within this structure. I had the goal of around 20 to 30k as I was building the fitness back up in summer of 2024. And then in June, I had the half marathon training, which I sort of did myself and made up as I went along, where I was only getting to around 50k in peak week. And then after that, I did a mini 10k block for like 5 weeks. That led to a 10k race in November, and then a few weeks after that, I got the 5k PB of 18:34. So I didn't do anything specific. I didn't have a coach. I didn't follow any specific sessions. I sort of did what felt right and tried to hit a weekly goal, spreading it out throughout the week and listening to my body as to what that felt like. During the half marathon and 10k trainings, I added different types of runs because the volume was going up. So I felt like I needed those recovery runs and those easy runs. And also, you know, doing a half marathon, you probably need a long run in there. So I started throwing that in, and all of that structure helped in getting my 5k down. Following that 3 runs a week structure got me to around sub 20, but then after that I did need those different types of runs, and that came with that half marathon and 10k training. But if you're not doing those bigger races, just have a set target of mileage you want to hit a week, or don't even do that. Have a set amount of time that you want to run for a week and plan the days. When can you best fit it in? Can you fit it in a Monday after work? What about a Tuesday lunchtime? Do you need to get up in the morning before? See what you can move around. It might only be park runs and a Sunday long run. You can definitely make some improvements with just running on the weekend. Eventually it will plateau because you'll need higher mileage to access, you know, the quicker paces. but you can definitely make improvements that way. And as my mileage increased, one of the main things that I added into that structure was intervals. And this was where I started to work on my speed. So I joined a run club which did intervals on a Monday. I don't really know what the session's going to be before we get there, so I wouldn't really plan anything or have a target in mind. The reps were usually anywhere from 400 meters to 2k reps. And I wouldn't go out specifically to try and hit a pace. I would sort of do it how I felt and try and push it to sort of slightly uncomfortable pace that maybe I hadn't hit before. But then again, I was on a good run at them. I was in a good groove at this time of the year, and I was feeling good, and I could push my body a little bit more than usual. I sort of had 4-minute 5Ks as my sort of benchmark if I really wanted to stick to pacing, and I'd just try and beat that, and then I'd try and beat what I did the week before, depending on what the session was. Actually using intervals to push pace and getting used to running quicker than what I needed to made, especially when I got that 18:34 PB, not feel as hard as what I thought 18:34 would be. So I know, before someone yells at me for that, it was still really hard, okay? It hurt. I just dealt with it better. So look, if you do use Runner or any other training plans, or you have a coach, they will probably put on interval sessions for you and you can follow them. There are also some great workouts that Philly Bowden's put out, Nick Bester, and Ben Felton, Ben is running. Putting yourself in more discomfort during a bit of training and in an interval session does help to settle you down when you're running slightly slower than that for 5k, but obviously with no rest. And speaking of rest, something that I prioritised was sleep. When I used to do my big ultra marathons, which I was never actually fit enough to do, I never really prioritised my body or sleep and recovery. As I started building my fitness back up and, was getting faster, I make sure I get 7 to 8 hours sleep a day. Fun fact, the week that I got the 18:34 PB, it was on the Saturday morning at Parkrun. On the Monday, I stayed up later than usual, didn't sleep very well. On the Tuesday, stayed up later than usual, didn't sleep very well. So I skipped my Wednesday and Thursday sessions. So I didn't run Wednesday, Thursday, and then did a light shakeout on Friday. And then on Saturday, I got a 20-second PB. So prioritising sleep and rest and recovering that week was much more important than doing any sessions that I would have done that week. I don't think I'd have got the PB if I'd have carried on and pushed through some of those sessions. Sleep and recovery is where you're allowing your body to adapt. You're setting yourself up for the next day, and you're gonna perform better if you are resting and recovering. I used to hate lie-ins when I was a kid. Now, God, it's like the highlight of my week having a lie-in. There you go. Have a lie-in. Treat yourself to a lie-in. Now, these are all very generic, and you do need context. You need to adapt to your own circumstances. And running in winter as well is also difficult. So if you want to see how I manage that with the dark nights when it's cold and wet and get out of the door, why not click here and you can find out for yourself.